Okay, so there's actually been a massive war in the gacha community recently, involving games like Wuthering Waves, Genshin Impact, and also Honkai Star Rail. Now, you might be wondering, well, what is this? Is it a battle between companies? Is it a battle between, what kind of update's better? Well, no. It was a ton of creators, as usual, kind of getting involved and giving their takes on certain games. Now, you probably already know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Gacha Smack tweet, which actually came out the other day. And if you don't know, Gacha Smack likes to go on Twitter, where he pretty much just goes on a little rant, literally about anything. It could be about gacha games, or it could be about like fitness and well-being or something like that. But he uploaded one about 3 days ago, which has actually managed to get 457,000 views, which is quite impressive, seeing as this is a video about Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, and Wuthering Waves. But whenever you actually get into the video and see, how he's kind of taunted a lot of these people, you can see why it did get a lot of views. Now, obviously, you can also see the likes as well. He only got 700 likes to that 457,000 views. So again, that is kind of concerning, but also it did get a lot of reposts, especially from other creators. So in this video, I just kind of wanted to go through everything you need to know about this and kind of talking about what Gacha Smack says and how people are just taking this way too far and how you can actually simple it down to something that isn't confusing. It doesn't turn into a 7-hour-long stream. Not that there's anything wrong with doing that. Obviously, there's been a couple of people that have, talked about this at length, which again, I think is totally fine. And I probably will do that on my stream a bit later, but in this instance, in my video, I just want to keep this short and just kind of tell you what I think, as well as talking about like what a lot of people are kind of misconstruing, and yeah, pretty much just doing that. But if you guys do enjoy this video, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and also go to my Twitch. I'm going to be streaming live. I definitely recommend going over there. Again, we do a ton of really cool stuff, including playing some Wuthering Waves, doing some gacha game stuff, and again, I got this new face cam stuff. Sorry if I do look dead. As I said in my last video, I might look a little bit dead whenever I do these videos because I do record it quite early. But regardless, come join us over at Twitch, and yeah, I'll see you guys over there. So pretty much what this post that Gacha Smack put out was pretty much comparing a lot of gacha games to the One Piece anime. Now, if you don't know, One Piece kind of releases episodes almost weekly. I mean, sometimes they do have a little like hiatus and stuff like that for a couple of weeks. I think that they're actually on one right now. But usually they do it weekly, and he was drawing this comparison between this and also gacha game cutscenes, more specifically Genshin Impact, Honkai Star, and Wuthering Waves, which he actually mentions in this tweet. Now, obviously, this got a lot of people mad because I don't think it is the best kind of comparison. I think a lot of people did take it way too far. Now, what he's pretty much saying is that the fact that, an anime studio can produce these 25-minute long episodes and animations and, pull them out consistently, whereas a gacha game has to take 6 weeks to not even get a quarter of an episode in terms of cutscenes. He wanted more, and I think that's what a lot of people are kind of misunderstanding here, which is the fact that he just wants the game to get better, and I think so many people have kind of got aggroed over Gacha Smack. Now, I don't think I'm on either side here. I believe that there are some good points that Gacha Smack makes, and I think there's also some, not so good ones that maybe could be changed and things like that. Now, obviously, yeah, I think people just kind of missed the point of this video overall, which is the main fact of he wants more cutscenes, regardless of the comparisons he's making in the video, which I do admit is quite a bad comparison. I think a lot of people did get very angry over that. But let's just root it down to the main thing that he wants, which is more cutscenes. Now, I think that's also another thing that people get really kind of hung up on, is a lot of the nuances with this, which again, has kind of annoyed a lot of people. Now, obviously, what are these nuances? Well, first of all, it depends what game it is. Like, I've seen Saint Tontas and a lot of other people talking about Wuthering Waves and how they do their cutscenes, and obviously it's different in every game. He's calling out Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, and Wuthering Waves, which has obviously aggroed all the communities. Now, honestly, in my opinion, I do think Wuthering Waves, and again, this is going to be an absolute Kuro Shield take here, they do the best kind of cutscenes and dialogue. Now, obviously, in terms of dialogue, they are very dynamic with characters and stuff like that. They do move the camera while they're talking and everything like that, which is much better than what we've seen in Honkai Star Rail recently, and also Genshin Impact, where they just kind of stood there, like, kind of in an idle pose. It's kind of boring, and again, I think a lot of people are kind of fed up with that, including Gacha Smack, who I know plays a lot of these games. But I do think that Wuthering Waves being called out here, it's like, okay, it does need some improving. I'm not going to be like, oh my god, Wuthering Waves is the best game. It does need some improving. Let's just be real. Anything can really improve, but I do think Wuthering Waves does do it better than both of these games. So again, it will be interesting to see if he has any more points on that. Obviously, he made a whole video on it as well, talking about it. But also, there's even more nuances, including like what you consider a cutscene. Now, in this video, I feel like he's talking about the video cutscenes that you get in the middle. The ones that are like really well animated. And sometimes, it's literally just a video. It's not like the game engine rendering it. Sometimes it is, which again is great. But the main one I think he's getting at is the kind of, animated ones, not the ones where they're talking with dialogue. I feel like they're two kind of separate things. And I think the kind of quarter of an anime episode kind of talking about cutscenes is him talking about the animated cutscenes, which I do agree there should be more. I think, having more animated cutscenes would be good. And I think we can all agree here that more cutscenes would be good for any game at all. Now, obviously, there's a couple posts put up on Twitter during all of this about like, oh, how much cutscene time and stuff like that is involved in all of the games. And it seems like Wuthering Waves, just by a little bit, is taking home like the most kind of cutscene time in terms of the games that we're talking about. Xenosaga Zero actually does also a very, very good job. Obviously, the story itself is quite short and the cutscene times are quite long. So again, it puts Wuthering Waves and Xenosaga Zero, the two new games, kind of up there. But in terms of Honkai Star and Genshin Impact, the cutscene times are much shorter. For example, you know, we've got 6 hours, but only 4 minutes of cutscene time. I mean, I don't think that's good enough. I do think there needs to be more. But again, I think it's also down to personal preference because, again, let's go into even more of the nuances, which, again, a lot of people are getting hung up on. I think people are getting super hung up on this comparison and kind of like misunderstanding the point. I know Gacha Smack does try to simplify this point down quite a bit. But again, I do think that, you know, just kind of going after him just because he wants more cutscenes in the games to get better, I just don't think that's right. I think he's just expressing his opinion like he normally does. Now, yeah, maybe the comparison was bad, which I do agree, you know, that's why a lot of people are very angry, but I do think that, you know, adding more cutscenes to any gacha game, everyone's going to be happy with that. Obviously, different companies work differently, and also, you know, it's the whole case of, is this actually business practical? But let's just be real, this is Gacha Smack kind of voicing his opinions for the future of gacha games and things like that. It's not like him saying that, oh, you know, what Hoyoverse or Kuro Games or whatever need to change this in the next update and it's going to happen. Because again, it's probably not tangible. Now, some could argue that, you know, it could improve the kind of banner sales, which I do think it would do, but it still would be a massive risk to kind of increase the production of more cutscenes, but it would kind of increase the player's popularity, and honestly, I think it would be a financial benefit. But that's not really a point I want to get into because, again, that's just more on the business side. But I think more on the personal side and wanting the game to improve, Gacha Smack is totally right here, and I don't think he says anything wrong. Now, obviously, there was a lot of people as well that just kind of was like clouding on him, including content creators like Sip Stefan and Brown Online. Now, obviously, they do have some good points here because, again, they kind of go after this whole comparison thing, which I can totally understand. I know why people get really mad about this, but there was a lot of people in the replies, I'm not saying it's necessarily these content creators, that were being very just like personal about it, you know? It's like, brother, this is not your game, you know? You do not own this game. There's no need for you to go on Twitter and feel so like kind of offended by this just because someone said something about a game that isn't even that negative. All he's saying is that he wants more and that maybe the companies right now aren't doing enough. Because if you think, Hoyoverse and even Kuro Games now, the 10-cent kind of money, they've stepped up their money a ton and they can afford these kind of teams that can work on more animations, work on more stuff for cutscenes, which again will overall increase the player's experience, which I think, you know, again, will kind of keep players here longer, will keep players more involved. Again, it just brings up so much more hype for the game, especially if you're at the top. Again, it keeps you at the top if you keep doing stuff like this. And with, you know, companies like Hoyoverse, it's not even that much of a risk because they have so much money. If it does end up burning, well, it's, you know, it's a failed product, you know, okay, that's fine. You know, they've got so much money, it doesn't matter. And I think, you know, adding extra kind of cutscenes and stuff would actually help to improve a lot of these games, especially in Honkai Star sense. Now, I don't think it's too bad on the Wuthering Waves side at the moment. Obviously, I do wish there was some more like cutscenes because, let's be real, they look cool. But I think in terms of like keeping you engaged with the dialogue and then moving on to cutscenes, they're not actually doing terrible. I think they're actually doing great. In fact, I think, you know, I think it's actually pretty good. And, you know, maybe it could improve a little bit, but again, I think it's doing decently. Whereas the Hoyoverse ones, I have found myself kind of stuck in like a whole 3-minute thing where a character doesn't even move, which I think is something that definitely needs to be addressed by Hoyoverse, especially if you want to compete. Now, obviously, the reason why Wuthering Waves is doing better is because they need to compete with these Hoyoverse games. If they're not doing better than them in most ways possible, they're not going to be improving in the gacha sphere, and so that's why they are doing better. It's kind of up to Hoyoverse to be like, hey, they're actually kind of doing some things kind of good. Maybe we should actually catch up to them so people don't just like, you know, drop our game and go over somewhere else. Now, I'm not saying, you know, Hoyoverse is going to fall off or anything if they don't do cutscenes. I think, honestly, regardless of what happens, it's going to be fine either way, and it's just like a kind of thought that Gacha Smack had that would improve the community. Is it going to happen? I don't know. But honestly, I just wanted to cut out a lot of this like kind of bullcrap that I've seen. Obviously, there's a lot of people that just yap about it for ages, start bringing up different kind of tangents, and it's just like, bro, it's really not that complicated. It's not that complicated. We want more cutscenes. We want them to get better. Again, we want the games to improve. And that's pretty much the end of. Now, obviously, yes, you can kind of argue Gacha Smack. I don't really care about that. You know, you want to argue about him over one tweet. It's like, okay, man. Like, who cares, bro? The world keeps spinning. Gacha Smack still, you know, is going to make these videos. It doesn't matter. I do like Gacha Smack. I think he's a great kind of influence on the community. And he gets these conversations going. Because, let's be real, even though some people don't like him, he's still got this conversation going. But I think at the end of the day, we can all agree that we just want the games to get better. And hopefully, you know, this kind of drama just subsides and that people kind of realize that Gacha Smack wasn't trying to make a terrible point here. I think he's just giving his thoughts on how, you know, the community could improve and how, you know, the overall games could improve. But yeah, that's about all I got for this video. If you did enjoy this video, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. Do you think that Gacha Smack is in the right here? Or do you think that all these other content creators are more right in saying that, you know, he's wrong in this situation? But again, honestly, I'm a bit 50-50 on this. I do think he has some good points. I do think he has some, you know, kind of bad comparisons and stuff like that. So again, let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. That's all. See ya!